We're 2 days from the NFL draft, and we're going to talk about a lot of rookies today, going over their prospect profiles, how they should be valued, and strategizing around them for your rookie drafts. Before we dig in, though, you need to click that subscribe button right now, because throughout the NFL draft, I'm going to be dropping videos, just giving live reactions and takes, player perspectives for Dynasty Fantasy Football and rookie drafts. On top of that, even after the draft, we're going to be doing rankings, prospect analysis, trade values, and everything else. Click that button. Stop missing out. We got to get started. We got a lot of players today. Lan Larson, the FCS back here that might go undrafted in this year's draft, is a player to monitor just in case he does get drafted, just in case he lands in a good situation, just in case he starts climbing the depth chart somewhere down the line. He was not a prestigious high school player. He was not highly recruited, but we were productive the last 2 seasons. 1,400 yards, 1,100 yards, but we were getting it done in a passing game. That's one thing to note. 83 targets last year, 853 yards, 65 receptions. That's where he could be useful for you in fantasy football if he gets opportunity to see the field. Watch where he goes in the draft. Watch where he goes if he's a UDFA, and see if he can climb the depth chart, because nobody's predicting him to be a draftable running back. This running back class is too deep, but he could surprise you, could land in the 7th or 6th round to a team that really wants him, or could land on a depth chart after the draft that might have a gateway for him to climb the depth chart. Brashard Smith's one of my favorite running backs in this class because he's a damn good receiver, catching the ball out of the backfield, good hands, 4.39 40-yard dash. We got some pop to his game. 4-star prospect as a wide receiver coming out of high school, got 30 offers with a hot market. Alabama, Auburn, big-time programs were after him, but eventually we had to make a switch to running back. We went to SMU, 1,300 yards, 14 touchdowns. We were looking good to Senior Bowl, and now it looks like we're going to be a mid-round selection here in the 2025 NFL Draft. That's what mock drafters are saying, giving him a projection of the 6th round on average. But still, he's a running back to pay attention to. He's got the skill set to help you out in fantasy. Kyle Williams has been emerging. A lot of people are very excited about him. He's a slot receiver with a lot of wiggle, with some pop in his step. 4.4 40-yard dash, 190 pounds. Coming out of high school, was not a highly sought-after recruit with just 9 offers listed on 24/7 Sports. But we are doing well at Washington State, playing with 2 good quarterbacks. John Mateer and Cam Ward, 1,100 yards last year, 14 touchdowns. He's twitched up. The right situation with the right quarterback, you might have something here. Again, he's expected to be a mid-round selection. Might go round 3, late round 2, maybe early round 4. Somewhere in that range. Terrance Ferguson is a highly athletic tight end prospect with good hands. His hands are sticky. Watch it on the tape. And he's going in a range where it's very palatable for a lot of teams in the NFL draft. He was highly recruited for a tight end. 10th in his class in 2021. 28 offers. Colorado, Auburn, Oregon. Some big-time schools after him. 591 yards last year. 3 touchdowns off 65 targets. We're just a main staple in the passing game. Not uber productive, but we had 9 yards after the catch per reception, 2.02 yards per out ran. He can bring down balls downfield. He also has the athleticism to be a threat in the seam. Again, they're expecting him to be a mid-round selection. Could go round 3, late round 2, early round 4, somewhere in that range. Seth Henigan is a late-round quarterback to pay attention to. This is a quarterback in 2 QB leagues that could emerge as a starter or a bridge quarterback down the line that you may have to pick up off waivers. I do not expect him to be drafted in many leagues. However, he's a guy to pay attention to. He does have some talent. He was very productive at Memphis. 3,500 yards, 38 yards, 3,500 yards, 3,300 yards. Just throughout his career at Memphis, wire to wire, pushing it downfield, putting together a good highlight tape. Excels hitting at the middle of the field, short to intermediate, and can also toss dimes downfield. This is a quarterback that could sneak up on you. Nobody's expecting him to get drafted, but might be a 7th rounder, 6th rounder, 5th rounder. Look for him to go late day 3. Cam Ward, though, opposite end of the spectrum. And I think he's being underrated here. He's a very poised quarterback. He's very stoic. Go watch my recent video on him from last week. He will shoot you straight in every single interview, but the Titans are after him. I think we all know that. He's going to be the 101 this year's draft. I'd be surprised if they took somebody else. He's going to be first player off the board. And as we know about his story, played at the FCS level before we got to Washington State. And at Washington State, we did well. Back-to-back 3,000-yard seasons. And then at Miami, we took off 4,300 yards, 39 touchdowns with just 7 interceptions. Very, very decorated career Cam Ward has had. And he excels at all phases. He can push it downfield. He's got a fast mental processor. He's going to the Titans. That's probably the only negative thing. But you got to go somewhere. You got some upside to his game. We can push it all over the field. Short, intermediate, down the middle. That's something to see. And that's something we've been seeing over the last 2 years of his collegiate career. Very accurate quarterback prospect as well. He can play off script. And he's expected to be the first player off the board in the 2025 NFL Draft. Xavier Restrepo, no. Probably going to be a mid-round selection. Failed his pro day. He was hurt and ran anyway. But still, that's going to be an impact because it wasn't like he was an elite prospect at Miami. Ran like a 4.83. Just a terrible time. Came back, said he was injured. Had like a hamstring injury or something like that. Some tightness. But still, not a heavy sought-after prospect coming out of high school. 23 offers, a 3-star. We went to Miami, ran a 4.58 40-yard dash back then. I like to have that thrown up just in case that 40-yard dash at the pro day gets you confused. But back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons, we can be productive. We can play in the slot, built like a running back. So in the right situation, right quarterback, you might have something here for fantasy football. But you're looking at a wide receiver here that's probably going middle rounds or later. He might fall a bit, and the market's been very quiet on Restrepo. But now on the other opposite of the spectrum, we're looking at T-Mac here. Could be the first wide receiver selected. Odds are he's the favorite for that. A lot of people are mock drafting him to the Dallas Cowboys, and he's a big-time threat downfield, especially when it comes to contested catches. And he was a big-time prospect coming out of high school, ranked as the wide receiver 4 and 5 range in the 24/7 Sports rankings. 23 offers, big-time programs were after him. We get to Arizona, and we're instantly productive. 1,400 yards in 2023, 1,300 in 2024. One of the top wide receivers in all of college football, and that's all we knew about him throughout his career, that he was one of the best guys. 13.7 ADOT, 12.9 ADOT. We get targets downfield. Expect that at the NFL level. Even if he's contested, he's going to get them downfield because that's what his game is all about. Just pushing it and making plays downfield. He's going to be a first-round selection. Probably more than likely going to be top 10, top 12, top 15 at worst. And he's getting mock draft heavily to the Dallas Cowboys. It's going to be one of the top wide receivers drafted in rookie drafts. You got the running back run, and you got him mixed in. And really depends on whether or not you want to go wide receiver or if you want to tap into that running back well. Montrell Johnson, a later round running back, will be a late rounder in this year's draft at best, maybe a mid-rounder. He will be a late rounder in rookie drafts, but he's got good vision up the gut. He's got good size. And the production really wasn't there, but he was productive with 2 different collegiate teams, productive with Florida, and was the staple with that team, averaging 3.27 yards after contact per attempt throughout his career. But he's solid between the tackles. I would not be surprised after a year, 2 years. He's one of those emerging running backs that just slowly climbs up a depth chart, ends up with a run of a few games after injuries, being the man, and maybe get you some dynasty value. Again, his strengths is vision, his physicality, but he's not super sudden. He's not super twitched up. That could be a liability for him or impact his ability to climb a depth chart. But we're expected to be a late round pick, UDFA. Day 3, you're watching for him to come off the board. Kaleb Johnson, opposite end of the spectrum here. One of the top running backs. We're seeing him rise the rankings in a lot of big media mock drafts, rankings, especially in PFF. He's going in the second round where he was falling a bit, and he's usually going as the RB3 in PFF mock drafts off the simulator. Kaleb Johnson has some upside. He could be a true grinder. He could be a true bell cow, getting all the touches for his NFL team. Not a big-time recruit coming out of this class. We did not really have many big-time recruits at the running back position. It just turned out really well. 17 offers. We decommitted from Cal, went to Iowa. Perfect landing spot for him because we are instantly productive as a freshman. Sophomore year, we had an injury hiccup. And then this year, we put the stamp on things with 1,500 yards, averaging 4.42 yards after contact per attempt. First rounder in rookie drafts. Don't think too much on this. Even with the receiving production, he was up there in targets for his team. The top receiver had 47 targets. That's what you're looking at with the Iowa offense. And we're looking at it right here. Jacob Gill, 47 targets. Kaleb Johnson, 25. That is the Iowa offense with a quick snapshot and what you're working with the receiving game. He can catch the ball a little bit. He's not a receiving weapon, but he can catch the ball out of the backfield and get it done for you. He's got some size. He's got some power. He's expected to be round 3, round 2 range of this year's draft. He's going to be day 2. If he falls to day 3, that's going to be massive news because nobody's expecting that. Raheim Sanders is going to be a day 3 back that you're going to want to pay attention to. Back at Arkansas, he was considered one of the top Devy prospects. He's good between the tackles. He's got good vision. He's a guy that I can see chip away at a depth chart, end up being a guy for a few games, returning you some value as your late round pick, or maybe being the surprise guy from this rookie class because he was the man in Devy for a little bit, and we've seen that happen with a few prospects throughout the years, become the man in Devy, then get quiet, then all of a sudden come back for a little bit at the NFL level. Raheim Rocket Sanders, 34 offers, big-time recruit coming out of high school, was an ATH, went to Arkansas, and he did well there. He did well there, starting off with 578 yards, 1,400 yards. That's when everybody was excited about him. We got hit up with some injuries, went to South Carolina, finished things off strong. So we're building back up. 12.6 yards after the catch per reception. We can make guys miss. 3.69 yards after contact per attempt. And they're expecting him to be a late round pick. He should be day 3 somewhere. But a guy that could be a surpriser somewhere down the line. Isaiah Bond. 4.39 speed. Not in the 4.2s, but he's very athletic, very twitched up. A big time prospect. That could be a sneaky player on your roster who's highly athletic. As a big-time asset, was ranked as the second best ATH in his class in 2022, 4-star prospect, 28 offers. Big-time schools like Florida, Miami, and Alabama were after him coming out of high school because this kid is heavily talented. And then we get to Alabama. His 2023 season, 668 yards, 4 touchdowns. We go to Texas. We get hit up with some injuries. Still, 34 balls caught, 540 yards, 5 touchdowns. Still was able to be productive, showing you that he's able to transition from school to school, team to team, level to level, and be able to become a mainstay in the offense. That's something we could see at the NFL level if given the opportunity. But you're looking at him here, Alabama, second in receiving yards in 2023, getting it done. But we are not expecting him to be a big-time prospect, draft capital-wise. Maybe later, but we'll know more once the draft process hits because the NFL is going to tell us how they think about him. But Jack Bech, he's going in the 2nd and 3rd round in a lot of mock drafts over at PFF on the simulator. And he's a guy that came out of really nowhere, but at the Senior Bowl started to blow up a bit because coming out of high school wasn't really a highly sought-after prospect. Went to LSU, had 26 offers. Mid-tier small schools were after him, plus LSU and maybe a couple other bigger schools were after him. But we went to LSU. We showed a little bit of promise to start off. Then we went to TCU. We finished out our career 1,000 yards, 9 touchdowns, 5.5 yards after the catch per reception, but an 8 out of 13.3, racking up targets there. So we can get targets downfield. He's expected to be a mid-round selection, if not round 2-ish, depending. Some mock drafts have them higher than others. But somebody to pay attention to. Right system. He needs to be with the right quarterback, with the right volume for him to jump the board, jump draft capital. DJ Giddens is one of my favorite running backs. He's incredibly cheap for rookie drafts. He's going to be cheap for the NFL draft, and he could be a difference maker for his NFL team. 4.43 speed at 212 pounds. Was not heavily recruited coming out of high school, but we got it done at Kansas State, even with a ramp-up year with 518 yards and 6 touchdowns, back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons. Yards after the catch per reception, we're hitting double digits, 11.9, 10.7, and we're in the positives of the ADOT, so we're getting targets downfield. He's twitched up to 4.16 yards after contact per attempt. He's very electric in space, and he's expected to be a mid-round selection. I would not be surprised. So he'll get opportunities throughout his NFL career to be the guy, and he has the talent to climb a depth chart and be the guy overall, and he has the talent to really be one of the most productive running backs in the league. He has that in his game. Cam Skattebo does too. He does too. He's a running back that's a grinder, that has good vision, that moves laterally very well, has good footwork, was not heavily recruited coming out of high school. That is the theme of this running back class. One of the best running back classes of all time, but a bunch of running backs that didn't really hit hard at the high school level, but still, we're looking at what he did at Arizona State. 1,700 yards, 21 touchdowns. At SAC, he did 1,300 yards, 7 touchdowns. Yards after contact per attempt, 4.09, 3.95 on his career. And then receiving-wise, he's in double digits throughout his career except for his freshman year in yards after the catch per reception. This is a running back with a lot of upside that's very gritty, very determined, and very nuanced in how he plays the game. Should be somewhere in the middle rounds. Should be somewhere there. He might go a little bit higher than expected. He does have good technical nuance to his game, good vision, runs through faces real well, but not the most twitched up runner, not the fastest running back out there, so that could allow him to slide a bit too. Tre Harris. I like his ball skills. I like his size. I like what I see on tape. He was productive. Was not a highly sought after recruit coming out of high school, but we were productive in our final year at Ole Miss. I think the one thing against this prospect profile is that we stayed in college a little bit longer than what we should have. We probably should have came out in 2023, but it was a tremendously deep wide receiver class. So strategically, I am not against his decision staying an extra year at Ole Miss. It's just the odds of wide receivers with this many years under the belt at the college level hitting at the NFL level are not very good. Still 1,000 yards, 7 touchdowns, 8 touchdowns a year prior, 10 touchdowns a year before that. We can be productive. We've proven to be productive with 2 different collegiate programs. We can transition from school to school, program to program, level to level, and showcase what we can do on the field. 3 straight years of good production here. Tre Harris could be a surpriser here. He's expected to go 2nd round, 3rd round, day 2 of the NFL draft. And he's a guy that's going to be heavily drafted in the 2nd round of rookie drafts this year. Maybe a little higher if he goes in the right situation. But we got so many good running backs, it should push him down to that area. Kyle McCord could be your late round quarterback that helps you get it done because the production is there. The high school pedigree is actually kind of there. 8th best quarterback in his class, 2021 year, 17 offers. When we went to Ohio State, because we had to play with our teammate Marvin Harrison Jr. from high school, we went over there. We were expected to be the next Matthew Stafford, was projected to be a 2nd round selection. That's not going to happen. But at Ohio State, we were able to win the job, be okay. Ohio State fans are rolling their eyes, but we were okay. We go to Syracuse, we turn things around. The ability to turn things around at Syracuse is an interesting thing that you need to pay attention to in his prospect profile. He could be a surpriser. He could be a journeyman backup quarterback that gets starts that you may want in 2QB, especially if your league's deep enough. But again, we excel at hitting the middle of the field like a lot of other quarterbacks out there. But he was productive this year, was able to turn things around. He's expected to be a day 3 guy. I don't think anybody's going to argue against that. Shedeur Sanders is expected to be a 1st round pick. We know this. How far in the 1st round down, how far up, we don't know. But he can play in the league. He can play in the league. He can be in the league. Odds are saying that he's going to be in the league for a good bit. 4-star prospect coming out of high school, 3-star in the rankings, 26 offers, Alabama, some other big schools. We go to Jack State, plays with Deion Sanders. Of course, we all know that. Nothing new there. But productive, accurate, not many interceptions. We have a good completion percentage, 73%, 70%, 68%. And we're able to spray it all over the field. That back corner fades nasty with him. And again, we're able to get the job done, spraying the ball around. And our pass blocking was not the best in college football, especially when we had to play against tougher competition. But still, when we look at this offense here and how it stacks up, we also had some good players on this team. Travis Hunter, LaJohntay Wester, we had Horn. We had some good players here. But again, we're expected to be a 1st round selection. Very good quarterback prospect, accurate ball downfield. Will be a 1st rounder in 2 QB drafts due to the draft capital, the opportunity he's going to be getting. Colston Loveland's one of my favorite tight ends in this year's class. I like him a lot. I got him up there with Warren, and I think he's going to be great, especially him going in the back half of the 1st round, early 2nd, more likely back half of the 1st round. He's going to land in a spot that's going to be very advantageous for him. Whoever drafts him is going to take him for a reason, and he's going to be their luxury pick, and they're going to expect him to be on the field. And we are a 4-star prospect coming out of high school. Decent pedigree coming out of high school. Not the biggest, but Alabama was after him. Some other big-time schools. But the thing about him, we were not uber productive. But for Michigan, the production was fine. 2023, 649 yards. 582 last year. 2.67 yards per out ran. Just overall good wide receiver. It all stands out on the tape. Expect to be a first-round selection. Could go anywhere from the middle of the first to the back end of the first. Tight end to pay attention to, Jalen Royals. One of my favorite mid-round wide receivers. One of my favorite wide receivers to spend a 3rd or 4th round rookie pick on, depending on where he goes in the draft, is where he's going to be valued at. But a guy here that has good hands, very twitched up on tape, was not heavily recruited coming out of high school, went to Utah State. There, 1,000 yards in 2023, 834 yards in 2024. Just the tape stands out with this kid, creates separation, looked good at the Shrine game, especially in the practices. We racked up some big performances. We blew up against Boise State, 211 yards, 2 touchdowns. He's expected to be a mid-round selection. Whoever gets him is getting a good wide receiver that can climb a depth chart and be a starter and be able to run routes, snaps on the field. Elic Ayomanor is a big-time route runner. Very underrated route runner. He put Travis Hunter in a blender. We all saw that. That's all gets said whenever we talk about Elic Ayomanor. But 4.44 40-yard dash, 206 pounds, good size, good frame. He's going to be a second-round selection. Teams are going to be trying to get him and trade up for him, or he's going to be one of the first guys selected. On day 2, 26 offers, 3-star prospect, but big schools were after him still. And this is a guy that turned it on quickly at Stanford, 1,000 yards, 831 yards, just getting a large market share of their passing production, over 30% each year. And this is a guy that could be a sneaky asset. He's very nuanced, very technical in how he plays the game, and 8 out of 14.1 on his career over at Stanford. Deep targets downfield on top of being able to create separation, and he's productive. Blew up Colorado, blew up Washington, Oregon State, San Jose State, North Carolina State. He's productive. He's productive, and he can be dominant. And the thing is, he's expected to be a second-round pick, and he might be an early second-round pick at that, and might get bumped up in rookie drafts. Jaylin Noel is a twitched-up slot wide receiver who can create separation in the right situation. Could be very productive for fantasy football. Something to pay attention to in this year's draft. At the Senior Bowl, he's looking good. He was not highly sought after coming out of high school. Went to Iowa State. There, we were productive. We were looking good. We looked good at the Senior Bowl. There's a lot of upside to his game, but the ability of always getting open, always creating separation is going to be a major factor to his production at the NFL level. We can take over games. We can be dominant. We're not overly dominant. We're sharing the field with other wide receivers like Higgins, but still, we're projected to be a mid-round selection, probably late, middle of day 2, somewhere like there. Jaydon Higgins, his teammate, another prospect that a lot of people like, has good size, has a good frame on him. 1,100 yards in 2024, 9 touchdowns. Look good at the Senior Bowl, and we can take over games as well. 214 yards against Memphis, 172 against Cincinnati. And again, just like his teammate, expected to go in day 2, somewhere in the middle of day 2, round 3, round 2, somewhere around that area. But expect him to get decent draft capital. Now we're looking at Jaydon Blue. He was a big-time prospect coming out of high school, ran well at the combine, has some speed to his game, can also catch the ball out of the backfield, was a 4-star prospect, RB6 in his class, 36 offers. Big-time schools were after this kid. Had a lot of promise, had some good thickness, good size-adjusted athleticism coming out of high school. 730 yards last year on the ground was his best season, though. We did not really fire and lived up to that 5-star status. Well, we did show some pop on the field and the ability to catch the football with 42 receptions. Our best game was against Clemson, 146 yards, 2 balls caught, and we're expected to be a late-round pick. Expect him to go day 3. Expect him to be cheap, but could be a guy that shows you something if he climbs the depth chart. He's explosive, he can catch the ball, and that could allow him to help your fantasy team. He could be that dart throw that you go after. Tuten is a big-time prospect, a big riser after the combine after he ran that 4.32 40-yard dash at 206 pounds. Mid-round selection and rookie drafts, probably going to be a second-rounder, third-rounder, somewhere in that range depending on where he goes in the NFL draft. And we're looking at where he's going to go. He was not a heavy sought-after prospect coming out of high school. That's just how it is in this year's class. That's just how it is. But we are productive at Virginia Tech, 1,100 yards, 15 touchdowns once we got there. and then 4.4 yards after contact per attempt. Solid tape, very explosive, good vision. This is a player that could be another riser up his depth chart over time. And you're looking at a guy here, yards after the catch per reception. We're nasty in space. We're nasty in space once we get the ball in our hands and we got the speed and explosiveness to get it done. He's expected to be a mid-round selection. It's a deep running back class. If it was a lighter running back class, maybe a little higher. Like in last year's class, he'd be probably going a round sooner. But still, Bhayshul Tuten is a guy, 4th round, 5th round, 3rd round, somewhere around that range, that it just depends on where he goes, who he lands with, because he's got the potential to take over a depth chart, become a major piece in the committee. Devin Neal was productive off the rip at Kansas. Very productive running back, 4.58 40-yard dash. A lot of people down on that, but it's still good when it's averaged out. It's still above average, a little bit wise. Still a good burst score to his name as well. And we're a big-time prospect coming out of high school, ranked 14th among running backs, a 4-star prospect, 5 offers. But that's just what's listed on 24/7 Sports. Big schools were after him, but back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons after 700 yards as a freshman, and he can handle the workload. He can be your grinder. He can work his way up a depth chart and become the guy over time. He has that potential. He's proven that over there at Kansas. That's what he had to do there, and he did it. He did it, and he's got a good prospect profile. He's got good tape to his name. And the Devy market, people were paying attention to him for years. 3.73 yards after contact per attempt, 3.34 on his career. He can make guys miss, but good between the tackles. Expected to go in the middle rounds. Expected to be drafted probably early 4th round, late 3rd round. Maybe not too later than that. Very productive running back. Has a good skill set. Everybody's watching this running back class. Matthew Golden. Odds are very good he's going in the 1st round. I can pretty much say it's good that he's going in the 1st round. 4.29 40-yard dash. Very fast, very electric, can create separation. We all know that from the tape. We all know that from the combine. 26 offers coming out of high school. We went to Houston to start things off, and looking at his production, we did not go off really until 2024 with just 987 yards, 9 touchdowns. Not the most bombastic production profile, but enough to get him drafted a little bit higher than expected. He's got some speed to his game, the technical skills there on tape. We just got to see where the fit is with his NFL team. We can take over some games. We had some big moments against Georgia, East Carolina, Arizona State, SMU, but still, we're watching where he goes in the NFL draft. ADOT's up there. We can get deep targets. We can be moved around the offense. We have that potential. But when it comes to targets in the offense, 83 last year. Remember, Isaiah Bond had to miss some time, but not too much time. He was also playing through an injury. We had Jaydon Blue getting some targets, but he was the guy for Texas. They didn't have a 1,000-yard receiver. He was almost there. Getting the ball in the intermediate is where he excels at, getting it after the catch, but he can also push it downfield as well. He's expected to be a first-round pick somewhere. We're just expecting it to happen. At the latest, probably early day 2, that 4.29 speed and the separation that he creates, it's hard for NFL teams to really just watch go by. But now we're looking at RJ Harvey, one of my favorite running backs in this year's class, and he grew on me a lot this offseason looking at the tape and everything else. 4.4 40-yard dash, 205. We got some size, be a great lead back in a committee, or a guy getting a lot of reps in his offense, or even as a full impact starter, but that's a rare thing anymore, getting bell cow running backs. 13 offers, 3-star running back, not heavily sought after coming out of high school. That doesn't mean anything as you look at this class, but again, back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons, almost back-to-back 1,500-yard seasons, 22 touchdowns last year. We caught 20 balls. We can be effective in the passing game. 3.88 yards after contact per attempt. He's going to be relatively cheap when compared to his talent, and he can take over games. He's got a laundry list of games that he took over. Very productive running back. 206 yards against Oklahoma State. 196 against Iowa State. BYU went off against Utah, Oklahoma. He's a good running back prospect. Many NFL teams would love to have him. I look at him as being a mid-round selection. Could go day 2, could be in the 3rd round. 3rd round's probably likely for him. I could definitely see that happening. Could be a little higher, could be a little later. 3rd round's probably the average for him. Damien Martinez, one of my favorite running backs in this year's class. He was able to be a big-time producer at 2 different collegiate programs. Did okay at the combine, good enough to get the job done for me. but was not a heavy sought-after running back like many other running backs in this class. Coming out of high school, back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons at Oregon State, Miami, proving that he can go from one school to another, one program to another, excel, be a mainstay in the offense, get some work in the passing game as well. Big-time producer with 10 touchdowns here at Miami, increased his touchdowns going to a new school. That's something to look at. Laundry list of production. That's one thing. There's potential we can transition from college to the NFL rapidly because we already proven that from Oregon State to Miami, from high school to Oregon State, climbing up the depth chart while being a 3-star guy. And he's expected to be a mid-round selection. I think he gets drafted before the 5th round. I think NFL teams are looking at this skill set. I think a lot of teams are going to love having him on their roster. Tyler Warren, first-round tight end. He's going to get the opportunities to prove himself throughout his NFL career. Was not a big-time prospect coming out of high school, but we went to Penn State. Michigan was after him, South Carolina. Some big schools were looking at him. We were not really productive until 2024. There we averaged 6.7 yards after the catch per reception. We were also used in the run game a good bit. We were a big-time focal point of the offense in 2024. There is a reason for that. We'll get into that here in a second, but we can take over games. We have that potential. We have sticky hands. We can break off routes. We're very reliable, and contested catches were solid. We're getting a good quarterback rating when targeted, 120, 135, 131. Very good in the passing game. 135 targets last year, 1,200 yards. It's just insane to see a tight end rack up that many targets. It's unheard of. So you think that would instantly transition to an NFL game. Tyler Warren also had a huge target share last year at 32%. Insane for a tight end. Year prior, it was at 13%, but 32% target share is something to look at when a tight end racks that up. He's also getting a lot of targets all over the place, mainly throughout the middle of the defense. They're just locking him up the seam, just trying to get him some space to create that separation. His receiving grades looking pretty good throughout his career. Last season, we led the team with 135 targets. The next receiver, Harrison Wallace, 77, who hit the transfer portal. O'Marion Evans hit the transfer portal. And what we're seeing from this Penn State roster from the year prior is all the receivers hit the transfer portal, so they really did not have any continuity. Theo Johnson went to the NFL, and pretty much the continuity going into 2024 was Tyler Warren and the 2 running backs. So really they had to live off those running backs and Tyler Warren because they did not have any continuity anywhere else on the team. That is what we're looking at here. So there's a reason why the targets went up, but the year prior, Tyler Warren was second on the team in targets still, 49 targets. So it wasn't like he was a nobody, then got thrust into the opportunity. He was a somebody in 2023, second on team in targets with 49, still getting production and workload. Just the thing is, he got the opportunity. It was right there. He captured it. He took it and ran home. Again, these wide receivers hitting the portal. And we had Julian Fleming come in, did not do well at Ohio State, did not do well at Penn State. But almost all of them left. All of them left after 2023. And you had to rebuild new continuity of wide receivers. You had to rebuild your whole wide receiver depth chart going into 2024, which is something people don't really talk about. I don't know why. But it's not a knock against him because he took advantage of those opportunities. That's one thing about life you got to do. So we got new wide receivers in, more wide receivers hitting the portal from Penn State. That is one thing to think about when you're watching the transfer portal. Watch Penn State and those wide receivers. Tyler Warren's going to be a first-round selection. He's going to get the draft capital. He's going to be a first-rounder in rookie drafts. That's something to look at here. 4.76 40-yard dash coming out of high school, and he's predicted to go in the first round. Not the most twitched-up athlete. We all know that, but he's very reliable. Very reliable, especially when covered. Elijah Arroyo, if you're looking at a tight end that's more twitched up, more athletic, with a lot less production, here you go. And we're watching where he goes in the draft. 4-star prospect, highly sought after, coming out of high school. Everybody wanted this kid from Georgia, Alabama, Auburn, Miami. Went to Miami, but we weren't productive. 590 yards this year, 35 balls caught. His 8 out of 11. We got targets downfield. Was not a huge proponent of the offense, but we racked up some yards. However, at the Senior Bowl, he was turning heads with that size, speed, athleticism. Could be a nightmare to cover in the open field. 10.31 target share last year. So again, we weren't racking up the production. We do need more experience. It might take some time before he becomes a mainstay for his NFL team, but I like Ricky White. If you're looking for a late round wide receiver, maybe even a middle round wide receiver, if he goes where he's supposed to go, this is a good talent. This is a very good talent that could really help you create separation. He's twitched up. This is a wide receiver that went to Michigan State after getting 31 offers while just being a 3-star and produced at Michigan State on the back nine of that season during that COVID year. Went off against Michigan. That was his best game. Back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons at Nevada, but still, we were getting it done. Again, at Michigan, 196 yards. That was our best game. That was as a freshman with Michigan State. And we have a laundry list of games where we just went off. Being productive, taking over. This is a guy that can take over. This is a guy that could be a late round gem for you. And target share wise, 44%, 42%. At Michigan State was on the lower end, but he started to ramp up the back end of that season. But LaJohntay Wester is one of my favorite dart throws. He's very twitched up. We'll get into why. Was not heavily recruited coming out of high school, but productive with 2 different collegiate programs. We were productive at FAU, then transferred this year to Colorado, and then ripped it up. 961 yards, 10 touchdowns. We were able to capture target share, market share. Was able to get it done. A 22% market share at Colorado this year, a 23, 26, and 45% at FAU. So we're able to be productive with 2 different collegiate programs and become a key component of the offense. Yards per route ran, 1.79, 266. We're able to get it downfield. LeQuint Allen's one of my favorite late round running backs in this year's draft. He's good at catching the ball out of the backfield. He's good at hammering up the gut. Look for him to be a late rounder, though. Was not heavily sought after coming out of high school, but we racked up that production. Back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons after Sean Tucker left. Able to rack up catches as well. 38 balls caught, 64 balls caught, and he's reliable. He could be a guy that climbs the depth chart. He averaged 3 yards after contact per attempt. He was able to get work in the passing game. He was running a lot of routes. All in all, solid running back prospect for the later rounds. Could be your last pick in your rookie draft if you're looking for a dart throw running back. But those are the rookies we're looking at today. We looked at a bunch of them. Let me know who you like in the comments below. What are you doing in your rookie drafts? I want to hear that. Make sure to hit that subscribe button on the way out. One thing for watching. Catch you on the next video.